This is the long-awaited and hotly anticipated Simagic Alpha, the latest offering from Simagic, who brought us the surprisingly good and massively successful M10 in January of this year. I've been lucky enough to be using the Simagic Alpha for over 9 months now across many sim titles and also for competitive use. And as resellers are preparing to launch sales of the Simagic Alpha on their websites globally right now, I'm delighted to be able to share this worldwide exclusive long-term review with you. I'm Lawrence, welcome to the channel. On the left, you'll see all the sections in this video. I've put timestamped links to each section in the description below. While you're down there, please hit the thumbs up button to help YouTube suggest this video to others like you. 75% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed to this channel. Please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified about upcoming reviews. Simagic is a Chinese company which uses authorized resellers around the world to distribute Simagic products. For those who watched my Simagic M10 review earlier in the year, you may remember that although the M10 was new to all of us, it had been on sale in Asia for some time already. The same holds true for the Simagic Alpha, which has also been on sale in Asia for some time. This has many benefits for Simagic, as they could identify teething issues early and deal with them in a much more scoped way. Obviously, we're at the stage now where Simagic is happy with the product and is ready for a worldwide rollout. I've included a list of authorized resellers in the description below. Note that some resellers are not taking orders until they have stock. The Simagic Alpha is a 15 Nm torque wheelbase, which is currently only compatible with PC. Lack of console support is largely due to the licensing costs involved in console compatibility. On paper, the increased torque is the main difference between it and its sibling, the M10, which provides only 10 Nm of torque. However, the differences go deeper. For example, although the Alpha has 15 Nm of torque, I usually end up running it at about 40 to 50%. So the question begs to be asked, why not save the money and just buy the M10? It's very important to answer this question before I go any further. You see, the M10 uses a more affordable stepper motor, whereas the Alpha uses a 3-phase servo motor. The biggest advantage of the servo motor is that you get even more smoothness in your steering inputs and reactions. Where some M10 owners and users have highlighted that you can feel a slight notchiness in the steering wheel inputs, especially at low speeds, there's absolutely no notchiness with this wheel. It's smooth as silk. I will do a full comparison between the Alpha and the M10 in the future. Pricing. The following prices may fluctuate as resellers set the prices themselves. The base unit alone will retail in Europe for approximately €1,250 or $1,350 equivalent. The full package with the GT1 rim shown here will cost around €1,650 or $1,750 US. And the package with the GT4 rim, which is shown here, is set to cost about €100 more at €1,750 or $1,850. Again, these prices include taxes, but they are subject to change, and ultimately the prices are set and controlled by the resellers of the products themselves. We are straying out of the entry-level direct drive market here. And those of you who are familiar with prices of direct drive wheels will note that the price of the base unit will be very similar to that of the Simucube Sport or the Fanatec DD1. By the time you add your steering wheel or quick release to the Simucube or Fanatec unit, you'll definitely not come in cheaper than the €1,650 price tag of the Simagic Alpha, so that's worth considering when budgeting for your DD wheel. Wheelbase. This is a very nice looking piece of hardware in my opinion. The sleek metal finish is very pleasing and seems to be extremely high quality. It's passively cooled, as in it doesn't have a built-in cooling fan. The motor is cooled by contact with the outer casing. This casing does become warm when in use, but not hot to touch. The surrounding fascia for the shaft is made of real carbon fibre, which is a lovely touch. There's a green light with the Simagic logo on it to indicate whether the unit is powered on or not. I would like for this LED to be hidden or at the rear of the device. I'm just nitpicking though, it's not that bad, it just looks a little bit bright and a little bit out of place, but if I really wanted to fix it, I would have put a bit of tape over it by now. Unlike the M10, the branding on the wheelbase is much more subtle, which really does add to the premium look that they seem to be going for with this Alpha. Your power and USB cable come out of the left face of the unit. At first, this seemed a little odd to me as I thought they'd be a lot tidier at the back. However, when I installed it on my rig, I was very grateful as the lack of ports at the rear means I could push my wheel further away from me without worrying about the cables hitting my rig or potentially bending. This may not be ideal for people who love super tidy cable management, but as you can see, I don't invest much time doing cable management. The other sided wheelbase features a CAN bus USB port and peripherals safe B port. This gives a strong indication that Simagic is likely to release peripheral products in the future. If the peripheral devices will be anything like the M10 and this wheelbase, then I'm extremely excited about those possibilities. They recently released this photo of a pedal on their social media, but we'll have to wait and see what it's actually all about. The power supply is relatively small for a direct drive unit. The Alpha also features a handy inline power switch. I've mounted this switch relatively close to my wheel and I use it as a kill switch if needs be. Although a proper dedicated kill switch like the Fanatec or Simicube offerings would be very nice to have. Installation, hardware. Installation is relatively straightforward, provided you have mounting holes for a Fanatec wheelbase. This wheelbase uses the same pattern. Unfortunately, the Alpha does not come with its own metal brackets like we saw with the M10. This may be a concern for some, although it did suit me. They recently released a dedicated bracket for the Alpha as shown here, but not all resellers will have them in stock yet. However, I am assured that all resellers can get them even if they don't list them on their websites. The front face of the unit features mounting holes which could be used for front mounting or mounting button boxes. These mounting points sit in a 9cm square pattern. The lower mounting points are tapped so an M8 bolt will fit perfectly. The upper mounting points are not threaded so you'll require a nut to secure your mount. The wheelbase itself is pretty heavy for its compact form factor. It weighs 7.8 kgs or just over 17 pounds. It will scratch relatively easy if you're not careful. Installation, software. Software installation is simple. The software is a simple executable which doesn't need to be running once your system is set up. I recommend trying the default settings with your favorite sim without any setup adjustment and you'll instantly be able to enjoy a glimpse of what the wheel has to offer. Just make sure the Simagic software has force at 100% and that you adjust your in-game force feedback to suit. That way, at least the game will get access to 100% of what the Alpha has available. You can easily apply new settings without exiting your game, which is really nice. It allows you to change settings pretty much as you're driving so that you can feel what exact effect it is having. That's really handy for anyone looking to experiment with settings on the fly. Steering wheel options. The Alpha uses the same shaft and quick release as the M10, meaning that the GT1 and GT4 rims both fit and communicate wirelessly using Simagic's wireless technology. The GT1 comes in round and D-shaped offerings. The GT4 is their Formula style rim. Note that these wireless steering wheels don't work with other wheelbases, but there are wired alternatives available which you can contact your local reseller about for more information. They also do this pretty nifty wired button plate. I love their quick release so much that I actually did a dedicated video on it which I've linked in the cards above. Both of Simagic's wheel rim styles are extremely high quality. They feature brightly backlit buttons. The ones on the GT4 are customizable, where the GT1 rims are all limited to red only. You can make them flash and pulse on the GT1 rim, but I much prefer the setup on the GT4 rim. The rotary encoders on the GT1 could be better, and I'd love to see the directional hat on the GT1 rim as they're pretty essential for making adjustments on the fly and expected on a high quality sim racing wheel these days. The GT4 rim has two of those directional hats, or some people call them funky switches, which also act as encoders, and they're absolutely brilliant. The buttons have a beautiful luxurious sprung throw to them and the toggles are clean and clear. Both wheel rims have carbon fiber magnetic shifters. I'll be reviewing both of these rims in a lot more detail in a future video. They are by far the highest quality stock rims I've ever seen on any sim racing wheelbase. You can connect and disconnect the steering wheel rim without needing to plug any cables in or out. You don't even need to charge batteries as the Simagic wheel rims receive power directly from the wheelbase. For all intents and purposes, it's a wireless system, but there are small pins built into the quick release system which transmit the power to the steering wheel base. This makes for a very pleasant experience for those of us who like to use multiple steering wheels, or those of us who like to take the steering wheel off when exiting our rig. Best of all, you don't have to worry about power restrictions, so you can enjoy those lovely bright illuminated buttons, which is a huge benefit over many other wireless steering wheel offerings. This illumination is lovely and useful, especially if you tend to drive in a darker room like I do. One benefit of them being powered and ultra bright means that you can see them very clearly in daylight as well. The startup sequence on the GT4 rim alone gives me a great sense of pride in owning one of these devices. Of course, any aftermarket USB steering wheel will also work with this, and you can buy a Simagic quick release for about €90. Do note that the quick release only suits steering wheels which have a flange which allows you to fasten the bolts in the direction of the quick release, as shown here on my Cube Controls Formula CSX2. If you wanted to mount an Asher wheel like this F28SC, you'd need to fit a flange or bolt from inside of the wheel outwards. During a recent review of a GT3 rim, I had to use one of those flanges. If you look at the Simagic wheel, you'll see that the quick release is fastened from within the wheel housing, which is a little tricky to do if you wanted to change it. Force feedback. The 15 Nm of torque is instant, crisp, and more than enough for most high-end sim racers. I run the force feedback at about 50% or even less, and at that it's very heavy but very rewarding. When you hit a wall, you better let go of that steering wheel. It sounds like a joke, but it really isn't. The thing that I like most is the feeling of the suspension moving and warping under the car. Crests and bumps breathe immersion into my experience, and more than anything else, this wheelbase allows me to correct mistakes before they even happen. Having the ability to easily and accurately correct mistakes like slides or lockups gives you more confidence to race on the edge. There's a kill switch of sorts in the form of an on-off switch. I've only ever had to use this once, after I had a Logitech wheel on my PC and I forgot to change the force feedback settings. I'm very glad I had it, but would love the option for a dedicated kill switch. I will be addressing the force feedback in more detail in a future video where I compare it to that of the SC2 Pro. I can say with some confidence that somebody who's not using direct drive every single day would not actually be able to tell the difference between the two in a blind test. Build quality. The materials used for the Simagic products suggest that no expenses are spared. The GT1 rim alone features carbon fibre, leather and high quality stitching. It's substantial in weight and feels like a very established product, as if it was lifted out of a real race car. The GT4 rim is no different, and it has lovely heavy clutch paddles and a tremendously convincing click when you shift. It may be a little bit loud for some, but it's perfect for most. The wheelbase looks very well thought out, and it's clean and easy to mount and use. Teething issues. As I mentioned at the start, I've been using this wheelbase for over 9 months now. Luckily for me, their main upgrades have been software and firmware upgrades, and the internals have all largely remained the same. There's no flex in this quick release, although I did experience some vertical movement in the shaft on my particular wheelbase. Simagic did offer me a replacement, but I declined. My wheel comes from the first batch, and subsequent batches, I'm told, no longer have this issue. The issue isn't big enough for me to go to the effort of boxing it up and sending it back. The problem is so subtle that it's actually very difficult to catch on film. I'm simply telling you this for transparency, but I have been assured that the issue is isolated to the first batch of these wheels, of which mine is one of the first. Another issue I experienced was an odd wheelbase overheating issue. As some of my viewers on my livestream witnessed, I was losing wireless connection to my wheel after extended periods of use. This was incredibly frustrating, but after some back and forth with the Simagic team, they sent me new firmware versions for both my steering wheels and the wheelbase, and once we got it sorted, the issues haven't happened since, even with subsequent firmware upgrades. I must say that in both scenarios I got exceptional service. However, I must also note that I was dealing directly with Simagic, whereas anybody who buys via a reseller is expected to communicate directly with the reseller. I fear that the level of service that I got simply cannot be offered by a reseller, so this is worth noting and considering when making your purchase. Final thought. I've often told people that the Alpha's little sibling, the M10, is the best value direct drive wheelbase on the market, and I still think that's the case. However, the M10 is not perfect, and the issues that the M10 has are polished and corrected with the Alpha by using a smaller, more attractive form factor along with a silky smooth servo motor. The price of the Alpha is higher as you would expect, but it's considerably lower than competitors like Fanatec and Simacube's offerings, especially by the time you add a wheel rim and a quick release. If you're looking to get into direct drive for the first time and have a budget of €1,650 or $1,750 for a relatively plug-and-play wheelbase and rim package, then I've no doubt that you'll be absolutely delighted with the Alpha, as I am. I've had it for over 9 months now and I absolutely love it. It's a complete no-fuss package. Which brings me to my next point. Simagic has listened to so much of my feedback and iterated their products and firmware to constantly improve and make them even better. This type of openness and feedback and quick reaction time to get improvements to market is very exciting. Granted, not everyone will be able to communicate with them like this, but in the past year I've seen rapid software and hardware iterations which show that there's massive commitment and investment on their side. I think that this will pay off for them in the long run. As for support, well, if you have any issues, you need to contact your reseller rather than contacting Simagic directly. This is quite a common policy found in many lines of business, but it may seem a little odd to some buyers who are nervous about trusting this new and relatively unproven brand. I've not seen many issues from people who've bought the Simagic M10 before, so reliability is obviously high on the radar for Simagic, but no products are perfect. I also worry a little bit about the availability of stock. It seems that there's no clarity surrounding release dates or shipment dates of batches. On a similar note, I also have concerns over the fact that there are unauthorized resellers who sell and replenish their Simagic stock regularly. The question begs to be asked, how do unauthorized resellers keep getting stock, while people who buy through authorized avenues struggle to get their hands on products? Simagic recently launched their website and it was well overdue. It looks really nice and professional. I don't know if they'll ever sell directly through their website, but for now, their resellers seem to be doing an excellent job. I've included a list of resellers in the description below. I think that most people who buy a Simagic Alpha would be so happy that they may never change their steering wheel base or rims again. That's a bold statement, but it is quite true. I'm living this right now, and if it wasn't for this channel, I don't think I'd be too tempted to change my wheelbase anytime soon. I'm lucky enough to have access to more expensive hardware, but an upgrade is very hard to justify. Simagic have been hinting at expanding their ecosystem. They've posted sketches of pedals and emergency stop buttons. They've expansion and accessory ports built into the wheelbase already, and I think they're just setting themselves up to grow and grow. If they organize themselves correctly, they'll establish a very loyal fanbase. In the wheelbase space, the Simagic Alpha ticks lots of boxes. It doesn't quite have the big torque figures of its competitors, and in this game, those torque figures matter. At least, they matter to consumers in the same way horsepower figures matter in cars. But in general, they also equate to clarity and granularity of force feedback. I hope that someday they release a 25Nm wheelbase and they really put it up to the professional grade competition. They've provided us with a beautiful piece of sim racing hardware, with fantastic wheel rim options and a sublime quick release system. So much so that most sim racers wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the Simagic Alpha and the Fanatec DD1 or even the Simicube SC2 Pro in a blind test. That is for another video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up. I'll respond to every comment personally. I'm Lawrence, thank you so much for spending your time watching my video, and I'll chat to you later.